Welcome, everyone. We're so glad that you've made some time for this gathering today, recognizing that there are a lot of other places that you could have been to be active in the world and to ensure that justice prevails in these times. We're grateful that you've made the time to be here with us to learn a little bit more about getting out the vote and how important this work is. As we begin, I want to acknowledge that I live on land stolen from the Ochekte, Sakawan, Ho-Chunk, Miami, the Barawatamakawan, most often known as Potawatomi, Sauk, the Meskwaki, the Peoria, and the Kiakapu. We say these names now in honor and respect. And at that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Scott Ossing.
Almost forgot about the chalice. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Ossing. I co-direct UUANI with Karen, and so grateful that you're joining us today. I guess Karen says you could have been many places today, as so many things are happening in this world. And this is one of them. I'm going to ground us in a reading by Reverend Elizabeth Stevens that was written in the wake of the 2018 election, but I think it was true after 2020. I think it's true now. It's called a post-election poem. Oh, my dear ones, I know you were hoping for a once and done, for an earthquake, a tidal wave, hoping that if we gave it our all, a single push would be enough, that after this we could sink back into complacency, back into the comfort of our privilege. I confess, in the secret corners of my heart, I wanted to believe that it could be that easy, that justice would emerge as from an egg fully grown, not with wet down and weak wings. But beloveds, we are chipping away at a mountain, not a boulder. Calcified structures created to oppress, control, kill. Thousands of years of this stupid idea that some are more worthy, some deserve power by virtue of who they are. Erosion is slow work, sweethearts. Celebrate the progress, the triumphs. Celebrate also the heartbreaking almosts. Breathe. Rest for a time. Then get up and turn again toward kindness, toward your neighbor in need, toward those who are still trapped in the stone. Tell them, I won't give up. Tell them, I am with you. Tell them, for you, I will learn to eat rocks. For you, I will keep chewing, keep grinding until the mountain crumbles to dust. So when I did my first real community organizing training several years ago, one of the first things they taught us was that democracy is a never-ending struggle. I didn't actually hear it the first time because I don't think I really wanted to. And then when I took the training again and actually heard what they were saying, that democracy is a never-ending struggle, I thought, well, that's got to be the most depressing thing I've ever heard. Because you see, I was one of those people hoping for a once and done victory. And I wonder if a lot of us who grew up in or after the 1960s took away from that decade of progress a feeling that we had won some things once and for all, didn't we? Now, 50 years later, we're finding ourselves fighting some of the same battles all over again and thinking, what the hell? Didn't we do this already? I can't believe we're having to protest this blank all over again. Of course, those who live closer to the margins have always known how it works. Every step forward brings with it a backlash. Anything we win can be taken away. And how depressing is that? And yet, in the wake of the latest setback, the apparent imminent overturning of Roe v. Wade, I started to learn that what they were teaching in that organizing training was actually also good news. Because just as no victory is final, no defeat is final either. I think that's the testimony of history from scriptural times to the present day. And it's the testimony of so many of our own lives. We've been in bad places before, and yet we've come through them. As Gandhi said, when I despair, I remember that all through history, the way of truth and love have always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they can seem invincible. But in the end, they always fall. Think of it, always. Yes, gains can be lost, but they can also be regained, often in a new way. And it's in that new way and continuing in that new way that I'm learning to find meaning and hope beyond the wins and losses. Because I think that's where we need to ground ourselves. At least that's where I need to ground myself, beyond the ups and downs, beyond the wins and losses. I need to ground myself in the sense that while losses will come, the struggle continues. I ran across a post on Facebook recently that said, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Now, if we stop, we will lose because the other side isn't going to stop anytime soon. So how do we continue? What's going to keep us going? For me, it's no longer an optimism that we will win permanent victories once and for all, once and done. Rather, it's the conviction that what we are doing is meaningful and that we can make a difference, even if it isn't everything we want, and that we have each other. We can keep going by taking care of each other, by holding each other up when we can't keep going on our own, and by finding healing and renewal and even joy along the way. And we can keep going by turning to each other toward kindness, toward those still trapped in the stone, and saying, I won't give up. For you, I will learn to eat rocks, and I will keep chewing, keep grinding until the mountain crumbles to dust. We have a video message from UUA President Susan Frederick Gray, which will be followed by Nicole Presley, who is the field organizer for the UUA Side with Love campaign and UU the Vote.
Hello, friends, dear ones. I'm zooming in from my apartment on the land of the Massachusetts people who still live here, and I honor their ancestors, their history, and their present, and recognize that I live on occupied land. Well, these are challenging days. We all know that. And we also know that this is not the first crisis of democracy in our country's history. Right? It's not the first time that UUs have joined in national movements for justice and for political power with and for communities suffering under oppression and white supremacy. This is how we live our faith in the world, with courage, with love, with commitment, and with faith. Our ancestors, like Reverend James Reeb, Viola Luzo, Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, and so many others embodied our UU values when they fought for voting rights, not as a political maneuver to support a party or elect a particular leader, but because we as UUs affirm the inherent worth and dignity of all people. And we know that voting is an expression of a person's dignity. It reminds us that every voice matters, every person matters, every voice is needed. And so today we are still in this fight to expand, protect, and live into a multiracial democracy and a system that is accountable to Black and Indigenous people and to communities of color, that is accountable to women, to trans and non-binary people, to disabled people, and to poor people. Over the past many years, we have witnessed hateful movements working to strip our communities of their rights, their livelihood, and even their lives. The efforts we witness across the states right now to deny trans kids access to life-affirming healthcare, to take away women's agency, to control our reproductive lives, to deny the teaching of the United States' painful history, to restrict voting rights and make voting more difficult for communities of color, for elders, for seniors, for disabled people. And of course, the doubling down on the criminalization of BIPOC communities and immigrants, and the shielding of police and the powerful from accountability, the ongoing exploitation of the planet and the polluting of our communities for profit. All of these issues, they are not separate. They are not separate issues. They are interlocking efforts, the foundation of which is white nationalism and white supremacy, and they are aimed at consolidating power and wealth in the hands of the few instead of the many. These are movements rooted in authoritarianism and rooted in the denial of the humanity of every person. This became so clear in the Trump presidency. And although some of our leaders have changed, thank goodness, the threats to human dignity, to our rights, to democracy remain, and they are deepening in states across the country. In 2020, the vote was a call to justice, to spiritually grounded collective action to defend and expand democracy. Together, Unitarian Universalists wrote over 1 million postcards. Together, we contacted over 140,000 voters in Michigan alone. Together, we had over 800 UUs volunteer in the Georgia Senate runoff. When everyone was exhausted, we still showed up. That is faith. That is faithful, empowered action. Together, in UU the Vote 2020, we contacted over 3 million voters across the country. We supported people in long lines waiting to vote, and we showed up again to defend those votes and ensure that they were counted. We made measurable differences in states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, and Georgia. We did this by showing up with resources and people in solidarity with frontline communities. We didn't do this alone. We did it in deep partnership with those most impacted, amplifying and bring resources and volunteers to the work. Today, we continue this work in 2022. UU the Vote 2022, we are growing our movement and deepening our connections with frontline partners to build a radical, multiracial democracy where all have access to the ballot, because we know that every voice matters and every voice is needed. We will not be silent, right? We will not give ourselves to inaction and complacency. We will show up with love, with courage, with faith, and ensure that all communities, including BIPOC communities, LGBTQIA+ communities, poor communities, all communities have the power to determine their futures and to build a future where all can live with dignity and where we all can thrive. Love, bless each and every one of you. I'm so excited for what we've already built and how that will deepen and grow in 2022. These elections matter. Thank you to all of you who've answered this call. Welcome to everyone who's new today and joining this powerful movement. Remember that we have everything we need. We are powerful when we lean into relationship, into partnership, and in and with one another. We have everything we need. It is right here, and we are ready to go.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Yeah, I feel like I needed those words. As well as Scott's. We do this work. We do it over and over. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't, and we stay in it. I think Unitarian Universalism is powerful. We have an amazing and radical legacy of justice work, of showing up with and for people and communities because we know they matter, no matter what the laws say, no matter what the culture is, right? We know that each and every one of us is sacred, and that anything, right, that attempts to chip at our inherent worth and dignity is wrong, and that we will fight alongside each other to do this work. Today, I am reminded, and I am Nicole Presley, Field and Programs Director at the UUA. Right before the pandemic, I didn't plan on talking about this today. I was a practical support volunteer with a pro-abortion organization in Atlanta. And what we did was the organization supported folks in need of abortions with funding, because sometimes many folks did not have the funds to not only get the abortion, but travel to get the abortion and take the time off of work to get an abortion. So we had folks traveling from lots of different states into Atlanta. And the practical support volunteers would open up their homes for folks that were traveling, would drive folks to clinics, and would also sit with them at the clinics. And I remember my last time doing this before the pandemic hit. I was sitting with a Black woman, and we were just chatting. And I had a book with me. I can't remember what the book was, but it was Unitarian Universalism something. And I remember they asked me about the book. And at first I thought in horror, like, oh my God, how thoughtless of me to write a book that is about religion into the space, because that could be triggering, right? And they asked me about the book, and I remember talking to them about Unitarian Universalism and my experience with it and why I do this work. And I remember the feeling of comfort, and them talking to me about how they were raised in the church and how grateful they were that there are religious spaces out there that are truly here to love people, no matter what, right? No matter if, it's legal or not, right? No matter what people might think, what neighbors might say, but that we show up. So when we do this work, right, whether it is you, the vote, whether you are fighting for climate justice, it is our way of sitting with each other and joining with each other to do this work, because so much is at stake. And I am so proud to be in this room with you all. I am so proud to be in this faith with you all. And I am so proud to be doing and supporting this work of You the Vote in 2022, because I truly believed we have designed an amazing program that is going to support all of us in showing up as our best selves and showing up as radical and loud and maybe sometimes obnoxious Unitarian Universalists to get this work done. And before I jump in to talk about what this program is looking like, I just want to say that, I know that you all know, right, that voting rights, climate justice, decriminalization, right? There are hunger strikes going on in detention centers as we speak. There are people marching, I'm sure, in capital cities, right, as we speak. And as we speak, right, folks are dealing with a housing crisis, right? Rents are skyrocketing while wages have not moved in quite a long time. And the reason why I have done this work, particularly electoral organizing, for way too long, is because it is a place where we animate as a country and say, we will talk to one another, we will dream together, we will talk about our values, and we will declare together that another world is possible. And then we go to the polls and we say, this is what we want. And then after, we have to keep showing up to make sure it happens. Because if anything has taught us, the past 4 years, past 10 years, especially, as we've seen different parties occupy the White House, different parties have majorities in the Senate and Congress, it is that there is no party. There is no party. There is no outdated government procedure. There is no single piece of legislation that is going to save us. There is no corporate social justice campaign that will fund the work and the change that we need. There is no institution, no matter how beloved, that is going to do this work perfectly and has all the answers. But it is people. It is our communities. It is us that are the essential element to any organized and free society, and obviously to democracy itself. It is you, not always equally impacted, not always on the front lines, but always implicated in the systems in which we all live. And You, the Vote, has been that vehicle to deepen relationships among UUs and within our communities. It has been an invitation to express aloud in public with our neighbors, with our friends, that there is a love greater than any evil, than the greed, than the corruption that keeps us from what we know is possible, our beloved community. And this is what we carry with You, the Vote, a promise that people possess the power to determine our own futures. And this is why in 2022, our program is much bigger. I will say that is rare to hear when it comes to midterm elections, but our work is not politics, right? Our work is the faithful work to change our circumstances, to transform ourselves and our world. So in 2020, we had over 5,000 volunteers across the country join us. We had over 450 congregations. I know Illinois housed many of those congregations. I remember during our September Harvest the Power event, where we were going to update you all on where we were towards our goals. And I remember getting from Karen the last batch of the numbers, maybe 10 minutes before the event, telling us that Illinois had put us well over the 1 million mark, the mark that we thought was our goal for 2020. And then had us up our goals. So, I mean, congratulations and thank you to you all. You all did that, and I am excited for what you will continue to do with this program. But we know this year we have to not only mobilize voters, right? We are not only trying to contend with gerrymandered districts, new voter suppression laws, obviously still an ongoing pandemic, but we have an opportunity to move beyond just those partisan lines and win real victories for our communities, no matter where they are, right? No matter if they're in a red state, a blue state, a purple state, every single one of us are within that circle of concern. And that is why I'm so excited that a lot of the work that we are doing is going to be on those ballot initiatives, the ballot initiatives that are giving states, right, a right to abortion law in the Constitution to make sure that's protected. Ballot initiatives to increase the minimum wage so that families can survive. Ballot initiatives to expand voting rights. And of course, there are some ballot initiatives that we don't like so much, and we're going to beat those. That is the work. And to do that work means having those values-based conversations with people. It means talking about what matters to you, how it impacts communities, how you as Unitarian Universalists, how that drives you, how that shapes how you understand the world and your position in it. And then having those conversations, fighting and talking to folks and saying, this is what I care about. What do you care about? What is at stake for you? What is important to you? As a person who has knocked on way too many doors in way too many states and lots of different communities, I can tell you I have walked up to the door with the person with a sign that says marriage is between a man and a woman. I have walked up to the door with the sign supporting the Republican candidate. And that when you have those conversations based on values, not saying vote for this person, vote this up or down, but when you talk to the people as human beings and what matters to them, there are new possibilities that are opened. And we are going to need to do that work for the long haul, not just for this midterm, but we have to keep at that work to shift from where we are, because we know that is not good. So how are we going to do this? I will keep this short. I'm going to share screen really quickly to talk about what is coming up with You the Vote and how you can join in that work. All right, we're going to share. Okay, so as I said, we are focusing heavily on ballot initiatives and values-based conversations. We are going to be working with our state action networks, with our state and local partners to make sure that we are doing that work in partnership with communities to keep it sustainable. Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot of big GOTV in many of our key states because we need to talk to as many people as possible. We know many laws have changed. On the 9th, we just had our first national action. It was a letter writing action with Vote Forward. Go to the You the Vote website. You can plug into that as well and make sure that we write letters starting now all the way up to the big send date to make sure folks know where their polling place is, to make sure folks know that there's an election coming up and that they need to cast their ballot. We will be continuing to join in election defense and election protection as we move up to election day. We know that, folks wanted to overturn an election, and we will make sure that every single sacred vote is counted. As we move into the fall and God willing, as long as it is safe to do, we will be doing in-person door-to-door canvassing because we know that is the strongest tactic in making sure that folks are mobilized and cast their ballot. We will be strengthening partnerships, and then very soon you'll be hearing about a paid fellowship for young adults and BIPOC UUs to support and develop their leadership in electoral organizing. So this is what our map looks like. So in the blue pins, we are leveraging our power for election day and beyond. This is where there's going to be GOTV all day, every day, making sure we're calling, texting, knocking on doors, dropping lit, making sure the voters in these states know how to vote, when to vote, where to vote. Then in yellow, values to the front, this is right now the states that we're focusing on with critical ballot initiatives. We're Unitarian Universalists throwing down in those states and nationwide can absolutely make the difference. And then in the gray is where we are building for the long haul, right? Where we are continuing to train, support, and invest in our communities in service to local work, as well as in service to leveraging our full national power in these critical states where we know we can make the difference. So also a part of that is a challenge that we put out there that we call Good Trouble congregations. We know our congregations are the engine to UU the vote, right? They are the body that is keeping this thing going. And so we wanted to reward those congregations who have been at this work and who are doing amazing work. So Good Trouble congregations will get a bunch of the vote swag. We're going to have a party after the election with musical artists, myself, campaign manager Jason, SFG, and party. And to do that, we are just encouraging our congregations to meet 4 out of 7 of these criteria, right? So it's averaging, 20 postcards or letters per member, averaging 200 text messages, averaging 20 calls, reaching 20% volunteers in your congregation, registering voters, right? There's a lot of different activity. We wanted to make this as accessible as possible and as doable as possible, because better believe that when we went through the data, many of our congregations hit this in 2020. And we wanted to make sure that in these midterm elections, that we keep that work up, that we don't go, oh, it's not a presidential election, so we can sit this one out. It is not as urgent. This midterm election is consequential. So, and when you do all that work, what you can do is just go to thevote.org or go to sidewithlove.org. It's on both websites to fill out the story, the team report and storytelling form to let us know what you've been up to. Let us know when you've gone to that rally. Let us know when you've written those letters. Let us know when you've knocked on those doors. Let us know when you've gone to that phone bank. And we will do the lovely work of doing all the tallying for you in a very complex spreadsheet. So big shout out to our full Side with Love team who does so much work to make this all happen. And then I want to remind you all that there are so many ways to get involved. We've had a large national volunteer activation huddle on the 21st. We are planning another. We are planning to have at least 2 to 3 more by the time we get to the fall, to make sure we welcome you all into our national volunteer pathway, where folks are supporting our Zoom to make sure we have our national actions, where folks are on Slack, making sure folks know what's coming up. Folks are making graphics, folks are sending emails. There are so many roles to help keep this train moving. So at any point you can go to youthevote.org and click on get involved and sign up. And not only will you get an email letting you know the opportunities that are coming up, but we have a team of folks that are calling our new folks to You the Vote every single week, welcoming them into this work and helping to orient them. We have You the Vote skill ups. This is one thing that has been happening since You the Vote 2020, right? Every third Sunday, there is a skill up where you can come learn a skill. Last time it was the art of the ask, right? How do you ask folks to join your movement in ways that are effective? And then tomorrow, we are going to talk about how, we all ask, how do we get people to care, right? So how do we design our programs? How do we design our asks? How do we really create impactful invitations for folks to grow our work? And then I will leave you with this for ways to get immediately involved in You the Vote, besides all the work that I know Karen and Scott are doing, leading UUANI. Make sure you download the You the Vote 2022 guide. There is lots of really good information in there, not only to support your congregational organizing, but to participate in the national program. I have to lift up that on Tuesday, May 17th, we will be joining a National Network for Abortion Funds to have a conversation about what is the work ahead and how we can all join that work, called Heart to Heart Abortion Conversations. And then third, that we have office hours. Anytime you have a question, anytime you want to know what's going on, how do I take action? I've been working with this You the Vote tool and I'm struggling. If you want to troubleshoot, if you have a powerful story to tell, office hours is our weekly community space for everyone across the country to join and support each other in doing this work together and ask questions. So I hope I see you there. Again, it is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So I want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to speak with you. I want to thank you all for being in this work with us. And when you are ready, because in the last email I wrote that went out through Side with Love, I said, we are a movement, not a machine, right? Make sure you rest. Make sure you take care of yourselves, your bodies, your families. And when you are ready, please join us at youthevote.org and find a way to get involved in this critical election. Thanks.
Real quickly, Nicole, questions in the chat. You mentioned third Sundays of the month. That's every month?
The Skill Up, yes.
Yep.
Every single month.
Great. And office hours are 8 p.m. Eastern, so it'll be 7 p.m. our time.
Yes.
Or 9. Yes, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
This again is from our UU Justice Revival. We were so grateful to all the congregations that were able to be with us.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroyed. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroyed. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroyed. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroyed. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroyed.